Today, we are diving deep into Singapore's property market, but we're going to look at it from a totally different angle. We're not talking about buying a condo. Nope. Instead, we're unpacking a really detailed financial report that zooms in on one single company that's right at the heart of it all, the real estate giant PropNex. We're going to figure out what their winning formula is and what's really powering their incredible success. It's a question a lot of investors think about. Buying a property directly costs a ton of money, you can't sell it quickly, and you've got all those extra costs like stamp duty and upkeep. But man, the growth in this market is just so tempting. So what if there was a way to get a piece of that action, to benefit from all the buying and selling and rising prices, but with the ease of just owning a stock? Well, this report we're looking at says there is, and it makes a really strong case for one company in particular. And this number right here, this is exactly why we're doing this explainer. This is the big headline conclusion from the report, a potential upside of nearly 59% for PropNex's stock. Now, let me tell you, in the world of stock analysis, that is a huge call to make. It shows the analysts are incredibly confident. So for the rest of our time here, we're going to break down exactly how they got to this number, piece by piece. Let's get into it. All right, so first up, let's just lay out the core argument of the FSM1 report. We're starting right at the end with their final verdict, a strong buy recommendation and a target price of $2.98. This is our starting line, and from here, we're going to build the whole case and see what evidence they're using to be so bullish. So who is PropNex really? Well, simply put, they're the biggest real estate agency in Singapore. Their business is pretty straightforward. They make money from commissions when properties are sold or rented. This makes them a fantastic proxy for the entire Singaporean housing market. When the market is hot, when homes are selling and prices are climbing, PropNex's bank account gets a direct boost. You could say they basically own the toll booths on the property highway. Look, a good story is one thing, but an investment thesis is only as strong as the numbers that back it up. So now we're going to move from the story to the real substance. This part is all about the hard data, the financial engine inside PropNex that really grabbed the analyst's attention and forms the bedrock of that buy call. And wow, the numbers from the first half of 2025 are just explosive. Revenue shot up by more than 73% compared to the year before. But the number that really makes you sit up is the net profit. It more than doubled, jumping by almost 134%. This tells us something really important. PropNex didn't just sell more stuff. They got way more profitable doing it. Their profit margin actually grew by 2 whole percentage points. That's what you call powerful operational leverage. As the money comes in, the profits grow even faster. Now this is a really cool way to see the incredible momentum they've got. What this chart shows is the company's earnings per share. That's the profit for each share of stock for the entire year of 2024 compared to just the first 6 months of 2025. And get this, in only half a year, PropNex has already made more profit for its shareholders than it did in all of the previous year. That's not just growth, that's a massive acceleration. It's like the company just shifted into a whole new gear. And this amazing performance looks even better when you put it next to their main competitor, APAC Realty, the company behind the ERA brand. Let's look at return on equity, which basically tells you how well a company is using investors' money. PropNex's ROE is more than 7 times higher than its rivals. 7 times! And it's the same story with profit margins. I mean, this isn't even a close race, it's total domination. PropNex is just playing in a completely different league when it comes to being profitable and efficient. So that leads to the big question, right? Why? Why are the numbers this good? What's the secret sauce here? In this next section, we're going to go from the what to the why. We're going to explore the company's internal strengths, those deep competitive advantages that have created this powerful, self-reinforcing cycle of success. Okay, so the foundation of everything, the core of PropNex's dominance is just pure scale. This chart makes it super clear. That red line for PropNex isn't just in the lead, it's pulling away from everybody else. They have almost 14,000 agents. That's a sales force about 35% bigger than their closest competitor. And that's not just for bragging rights. This massive army gives them a reach across the property market that no one else can match. And here's where it gets really interesting. This chart shows how that massive number of agents translates into just overwhelming market power. So PropNex has about 37% of all the agents in Singapore, right? But that team is responsible for closing a staggering 64% of all private home deals. Think about that. It proves it's not just about having the most agents, it's about having the most effective agents who are winning deals at a rate that blows the rest of the industry away. So you see how this creates this amazing virtuous cycle? Some people call it a flywheel. Each part just makes the others stronger. It starts with having the biggest sales force. That huge network makes PropNex the #1 partner for developers who want to sell new projects. Being the top choice for new launches then cements their dominant market share. And finally, success attracts more success. The best agents see this leadership and they want to be on the winning team, which, you guessed it, feeds right back into step 1, making their sales force even stronger. It's a cycle that's incredibly hard for anyone else to break. But this flywheel isn't just about people, it's supercharged by technology. PropNex has built what you might call a tech moat with its own set of digital tools. Their agents get an investment suite to give data-driven advice, they get a business suite to automate all the boring paperwork so they can focus on clients, and they get tools to track their own performance and get real-time data on new project launches. This whole digital ecosystem is designed to make every single one of their agents faster and smarter than the competition. Now, of course, no company exists in a vacuum. PropNex has this incredible internal engine, but it's also getting a huge boost from powerful forces in the wider market. So in this section, we'll look at these tailwinds, the big economic trends that are creating a nearly perfect environment for their business to absolutely thrive. On this slide, you've got the 2 biggest drivers for any property market side by side. On the left, you see the steady climb of property prices in Singapore. On the right, you see that borrowing costs have been falling. This combination is the classic recipe for a booming housing market. Your asset is worth more, and it's cheaper to borrow money to buy it. It's the perfect 1-2 punch. Naturally, when you see prices going up and up, you have to ask, is this a bubble waiting to pop? Well, the report makes a pretty strong case that it's not. The government has put some really smart safeguards in place over the years. The big one is the total debt servicing ratio, or TDSR, which limits how much of your income you can use to pay off debt. This helps make sure that the market is driven by people who can actually afford to buy, not by wild speculation. And this right here is the result of those smart rules. This chart shows that for the average household in Singapore, their net worth makes up almost 90% of their total assets. What that means, in simple terms, is that people own their homes with a lot of equity, not a lot of debt. They're financially strong, which means there's a much lower risk of a bunch of people being forced to sell if the economy hits a rough patch. It creates a really stable foundation for the market. Okay, so we know demand is strong and buyers are in good financial shape. But what about the supply? What is there for PropNex to actually sell? Well, this number, around 10,000, is the number of new homes expected to launch in 2025 just from government land sales. For a company like PropNex, this is like a guaranteed pipeline of future business. It's the fuel for their engine, and the pipeline looks really, really strong. So we've seen the incredible financials, we've picked apart their competitive advantages, and we've looked at the great market conditions. But what does it all mean for the stock price from here? In this next section, we're going to look to the future. We'll focus on the stock's valuation and the potential triggers that analysts think could push it higher. All right, let's talk about valuation. Is this stock expensive? Right now, it's trading at a price-to-earnings ratio of about 18. And as you can see, that's quite a bit higher than its historical average of 12. So you might think it's overvalued. But the report argues that looking at the past is misleading. The PropNex of today, with its market dominance and tech advantage, is a fundamentally stronger company. The analysts believe this higher price is totally justified because its future growth prospects are just that much better. And beyond just the company's own great performance, there are a few other things that could give the stock an extra boost. There are government programs designed to get more analysts and big investors looking at companies just like PropNex. Plus, getting included in a major stock market index like the iEdge Singapore Next 50 could trigger automatic buying from big investment funds, creating a steady demand for the shares. Of course, no analysis is complete without taking a hard look at the risks. I mean, no investment is a sure thing, right? To get the full picture, we have to understand what could potentially go wrong before we circle back to the report's final, very clear conclusion. The main risks are pretty closely tied to what PropNex does. The biggest, of course, is just market risk. Their success is tied to the property cycle. If the government suddenly introduces cooling measures or interest rates spike, that could slow things down. There are also risks around new regulations for agents and the reputational risk from scams that can make people lose trust. And down the road, the new economic zone in Johor could maybe pull some rental demand away. These are all things investors have to keep in mind. But after weighing everything, the fantastic financials, the deep competitive advantages, the strong market tailwinds, and all those potential risks, the analyst's verdict is crystal clear.
The report's conclusion is a confident buy rating, with that target price of $2.98, which gives us that huge potential upside we saw at the very beginning.
And so that brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. When you put it all together, their dominant market share, their direct link to every transaction, and that powerful, self-feeding growth engine, has PropNex become the ultimate way to invest in the long-term story of Singapore's property market? Based on all the evidence we've seen today, the case is an incredibly compelling one.